Hey all you Saab freaks, and welcome back to Trionic 7. We have two Saab 9.5s in the family, and both of their front suspensions is getting a bit, let me say, squeaky or creaky. And obviously we're gonna fix it, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm pretty sure that replacing the sway bar end links is gonna cure most of the problems. I have a video on this. It's a very common problem on the Saab 9.5 and often gives squeaks and noises from the front end suspension. So click on that video link up in the corner somewhere, there or there, I never remember, and you will know more about how to replace the sway bar end links on the Saab 9.5. But you guys know that Trionic 7 isn't just a regular automotive YouTube channel. We do things our way. So look here. This is the front control arms in the suspension for the Saab 9.5s. And I've bought this part used from a Saab 9.5 model year 2003. And what we'll do in this video is to rebuild these control arms, put in new bushings, of course, polyurethane from Powerflex, both the rear and the front. We're gonna clean up the metal, prevent rust and corrosion, and make them look brand new. And I think the best benefit of doing this is that we get all new Powerflex bushings in the front. And I know these bushings make a huge difference. I put them in my old car, the 2002 Saab 9.5 Aero Luxan. Unfortunately though, I couldn't really make a video about it then, but I'll take the lessons I learned back then and apply them to this video. And I think the best lesson I learned is that the bushings are real hard to remove. What I did was that I borrowed a friend's garage with a lift. I lifted up the car, removed the control arms. This is an easy step. And then I was going to remove the bushings. And even though I had the control arms out, it was real difficult to do. The workshop manual tells you to remove the nut and then just slide the bushing off this shaft. The problem is we are in a country that uses salt in the winter, and these cars go all year round. So the metal and metal contact had resulted in corrosion and it had rusted in place. It took me back then almost all day and all evening to get the old bushing out and a new bushing in, since I had to get the car off the lift. I had just borrowed it for the day, and you can't really lower a car to the ground without control arms and suspension. But this time though, we are gonna manage the risk. It's just a few nuts and bolts to replace the control arm itself. So if we do the rebuild before, we can just switch it out in a matter of minutes and get great suspension. So these control arms are in, let's say, decent condition. You can see surface rust here, and the paint is slowly flaking off. Other than that, it's solid, and I'm gonna get them sandblasted by a professional and get them all cleaned down to the metal. So we have plenty of good steel left in these ones. I bought the control arm for 300 Swedish kronor for both. That did not include a nut, but they were quite cheap to buy from Saab. We will begin by a basic cleaning. They are so filthy I can't even touch them without becoming dirty, and I can't really transport them in the trunk of my car. So step number one is going to be a good cleaning. We have such great weather today. I'm also going to clean Anna's summer wheels for a 2006 Saab 9.5 Vector. And these are brand new tires. A full set of Michelin Primoussi 3. You can see the brand new, haven't even rolled a meter. Just got home from the tire shop, and as you can see, the rims are very dirty. Before I put them in winter storage, I want to get them all clean and nice, get some tire dressing on it to make them shine real well. I'm gonna begin by cleaning with a real heavy degreaser. You guys always ask me what products I use. This is the product, Degreaser Wet from Blue and Green, and I put it in a spray bottle like this. This is the Quasar Professional Mercury Super 1 liter, 360 degrees. So we'll cover everything up with the heavy petroleum degreaser and let it sit for maybe 10 minutes. There's lots of sand and salt and mud on these control arms. And you can see that this upper part here, dirt collects here and stays. So this is a major problem with corrosion. When the salt sludge in the winter comes in here and gets in contact with the steel, things start to rust. Be sure to get it all in there. So let's get the chemical to work for a few minutes before we continue with the next step. Next step is to use an alkaline-based degreaser. I'm using Alphanol HD Green. I mix them up in another bottle, 5:1, so 1 part degreaser and 5 parts water. And I'm putting it straight on here. I haven't been agitating or doing anything extra. You see this gravel, it's fused itself into the control arm. I'll have to use a chisel or something to get it off. At least the control arms do look a little cleaner now. I can handle them, I can put them in the trunk of my car without getting every single thing dirty. I'll just tidy them up a little bit more using a wire brush. It's called dental hygiene. Did you floss recently? Did you floss your control arms recently? Okay, I am happy for now. Let's go on with the disassembly. But first I'm gonna dress those tires. This is just some standard no-name tire dressing I filled up in a generic spray bottle. Importantly, this is a water-based dressing, meaning it doesn't attract dirt and makes it sticky. So I think I'm done with the wheel. I'm gonna let it dry and then do all the 3 other wheels. It's not gonna be like a super detailed job, as you can see, but it's good enough for storage. And this is where the fun part begins, right? Oh man, bushings. Removing them can be so tedious. I have one of these generic cheap brand gear puller tools, just a 2-armed version. In my experience, this front bushing is quite easy to remove, so we're just gonna give it a go and see if it works right away. So there's a metal sleeve in the middle, then there's rubber, and then I think there's a metal sleeve on the outside too, but I'm not really sure. Oh, my gear puller tool is so broken since the last time I've used it. Okay, so 2 arms have a steady grip on the control arm. Now we'll see if we can push the rubber bushing out in this direction. I don't even have a vise to work with today. Okay, things are starting to happen. You can see the metal sleeve is now poking about 1 centimeter out. All seems to be going well. That's what I'm talking about. It's coming out fine, no worries. And no, I don't have an impact wrench, so this is just manual hand cranking. Oh, there the arm goes. I think we're good. It's so loose now anyway, just flopping around. There she goes. So this is the Saab OEM bushing. It seems to have a metal outer sleeve, as I guessed, rubber, and then metal on the inside again. Part number 904686636. But I hate the Saab OEM bushings. So many of them go bad. We're gonna do polyurethane bushes instead. Let's see if the other one is as easy as the first. Alright, we have tension on the tool and we are ready to go. The first few turns are really difficult, but as soon as it starts to move, it's just easy pushing. And I can already see it poking out on the other side. That's the noise of a bushing being removed. It's really protesting. No, don't do it. Come on. Come on now. So I think it's just pushing out the center pin here. The rubber seems to be stuck. And now my tool has bottomed out. So let's go back out again. Okay, so at least the center pin is out, but the rubber is still in there. Now at this point you could do the fun way of removing bushes. That is, use a propane torch and just light the rubber on fire. It'll burn real sooty and bad, But in this case, when it's just rubber and an aluminum ring, this can help a lot. Now I don't want to do that here. Let's see if I can find out some other method to use right now. I really should have a vise here. In a worst case, I'll just hire a machine shop that will press out the bushings for me with a real press. Okay, I'm not really getting anywhere with a small bushing, so let's make an attempt with a big bushing today, and I'll think about what I'll do tomorrow with the small one. So note that I put the nut back on so we get something to hold the gear puller on. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I guess it's no harm in trying. It actually worked. The world is upside down today. The small bushing is impossible, the big bushing, just let's go. Okay, I'll remove the gear puller. And now time to remove the nut. 21mm socket. It's a tough one. Well, the nut is a nylock one, so not so strange, I guess. So how far did we get it off? Here she comes. Wow. Here is the big bushing, and it's easy to see that the shaft the bushing is on is just metal to metal, and this has got so much corrosion and rust. I'm actually surprised we got it off. Let's try the other one. So once again the puller is angled upwards. I'll try to step on the control arm and then push down and see what happens. Nope. And I destroyed the nut. Okay, that's all I have time for today, but I will continue soon again. Right, we are back, and as you can see, the bushes have been completely removed. I did try a little bit of fiddling off camera, but in the end I decided I didn't have the time, so I just gave it away to the Saab workshop. I did try with the local engine rebuilding company, but they told me they only do engines and not do general workshop stuff. And there seems to be a distinct lack of just these normal metal workshops that you can go to these days, so I had to go to the specialized Saab workshop, and they did the job for me, but unfortunately I have some bad news here. It cost much more than I hoped for. So I'm not blaming the Saab workshop in any way. This job seemed to be much harder than I had anticipated. In the end, to remove one of these big bushes and to press out the rest of the small bushing, I had paid 880 Swedish kronor, and that's around 100 bucks. And that's labor only for just the removal of the bushes. So yeah, that's not really great news, but I mean, what can you do? I figured this could be a very hard DIY, and now you guys got it on video to see just how difficult it can be. Those guys are pro Saab technicians. And when you live in the Rust Belt like I do, this type of metal-to-metal contact with the bush will almost always lead to corrosion. I'm still very surprised, as I told you, about the other side, the other control arm, that I could remove the bushing straight away with only hand tools, but the left-hand side just wouldn't budge. But I'm not sad about the cost. My main priority is to tell you how this works. Now, removing the dirt did show us that there was some more rust and corrosion than I initially thought on these control arms. If you look closely, you can see some pitting, some brown rust spots, but as I said, good stuff still. There's just surface rust, and we will actually give this to a sandblaster, and he will remove it professionally, get it all cleaned up with sandblasting, and then prep up the metal. There's still so much steel left here. I'm not concerned at all. It's easy to get to all the little nooks and crannies here with the blaster, so he'll be able to get everything off. And yeah, the metal sleeve is a bit dented here in the edges, but I'm not worried about that. Let's look on the other control arm on the right side of the car. Here you can see a little screw with a ball on it, and this is for the xenon system. The xenon leveling sensor attaches to this ball, and when the control arm moves up and down, the sensor senses the position of the front end of the car. There's a similar thing going on in the back, with another ball joint connected to one of the rear control arms. Now, before we give the control arms weight to the blaster, we'll have to remove this bolt so you can get into and remove the rust behind here. So we'll do that now before finishing up this first part of the video. So let's see if this works. I'm just gonna go ahead with a 10mm socket. And it's moving. I need to counter hold with my other arm and use something to hold the nut. But I'll do it off camera. I mean, I'll just remove the screw and then give it away to the sandblasting guy. But the last thing before we end part 1 is to show you the new Powerflex bushes that just arrived. I love the feeling of new polyurethane bushings. Here is the front, the small bush, and here is the rear, the big bush. If you want to know the part numbers, remember these are aftermarket part numbers, so these match for Powerflex only. For the rear, the big one, it's PFF66205, and the front one has PFF66202. I chose the purple series Powerflex. These are the normal sort of street versions. You can also, and they advertise for it on the back here, buy the black series. They are much stiffer and harder, and they will work great on the track, but they will also give lots more noise, harshness and vibrations into the car, so I'll just stick to the purple ones. But be aware, if you really want the stiff stuff, use the black ones. But I won't be opening the packages now. I'll show them to you guys later in the next part of the video when we do the actual install into the car. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching Trionic 7. It's always a blast making videos for you guys. I'll see you soon again. Bye bye.